I'm Roman Yossi of the Nashville Predators.
I'm Matt Duchesne of the Nashville Predators.
I'm Justus Aros of the Nashville Predators.
I'm Ryan Johansson of the Nashville Predators.
You're listening to the Renegades of Puck
with Crazy Charlie.
Welcome to the bunker. Welcome to the Renegades of Puck podcast. I'm your host and captain, Crazy Charlie Saunier, and before we get started on the No Half Step in Hockey coverage, let me direct you to our home website, renegadesofpuck.com. Once you go to renegadesofpuck.com, you can learn everything you need to know about the show, and once you're good and educated about the show, you can click on that merchandise tab. That's where you're going to find our classic logo tee, our Pride logo tee, and all of the special event t-shirts we've had from over the years. But don't forget our classic items that you've come to know and love from the Renegades of Puck, all the gimmicks, they're all still there. Socks, wall art, throw pillows, bed sets. We've got it all. I have to laugh. You can outfit your entire home or your entire body with Renegades of Puck merchandise, and we would appreciate if you would do so. We've sold out so that you can buy in. Social media is of critical importance to this independent hockey operation. We sure would appreciate if you could help us out. It doesn't take you but a second, and it certainly doesn't cost you a thing. Social media platforms, you can find the Renegades of Puck on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. You can also find us on YouTube, and thank you so much to all our new subscribers. We sure do appreciate. We're definitely noticing the uptick in subscriptions as of late, and we sure do appreciate each and every one of you. Stick taps, love, and respect, as we like to say here in the bunker. You can also find our behind-the-scenes live streaming channel on Twitch. That camera is right over there. That's where you'll find any second takes, mistakes, or anything else that goes on between recording here at the bunker. So go ahead and check out our Twitch channel as well. And the audio podcast, you can find us on a myriad of different platforms. Google, Stitcher, Spotify, that is just a couple. Amazon, another. Just search Renegades of Puck on your preferred podcast platform, and you'll get access to the show completely for free. Thank you so much to everyone who's helped us as part of the Full Press NHL network already eclipse 1 million replays and downloads in the year 2023. We sure do appreciate each and every one of you for listening to the podcast. Venmo, that's how you can become a sponsor or a partner of the show. Just go to Venmo and search Renegades Puck or scan the QR code that's currently on your screen. Thanks to generous Renegades just like you, we've been able to significantly upgrade our equipment here throughout the bunker, throughout the last season into this season, and we have some significant ambitions and some big events coming up, and we could use a little bit of support. So please, even $1 goes a long way to helping the Renegades of Puck. So please go to Venmo and search Renegades of Puck or scan the QR code that's currently on your screen. Now, I know it's time for the No Half Step in Hockey coverage, so let me deliver the goods. Time for operation number 719. That's right, it's time for show number 719 for the Renegades of Puck. At this moment in hockey history, the Nashville Predators currently find themselves in 5th place in the Central Division. After 55 games skated, they have a record of 27, 22, and 6. 60 points has the Nashville Predators, 7 points behind a wild card spot, and also 7 points behind an automatic qualifying playoff spot, which would be 3rd place in the Central Division. We'll go over the entirety of the Central Division and the updated standings coming up here in just a matter of moments. The Preds' next game will take place on the road, the first of 2 games out west, well, sort of west, to the southwest. 11-12-3 is the Preds' road record on the season. They've scored 157 goals overall. They've given up 167. That's a goal differential of -10. Now, the Nashville Predators, I mentioned a 2-game road trip. The first game will be in San Jose against the Sharks. The next game will be in Arizona against the Coyotes. And then Tuesday, back home against the Pittsburgh Penguins. Start the month of March in Florida against the Panthers. Then on the 4th of March in Chicago against the Blackhawks. Then on the 6th of March in Vancouver. So a road trip for the Nashville Predators that will take them from just outside of Miami, just a quick stopover in Chicago, then all the way to Vancouver in just 4 days overall. But before the Preds can get to all of those games, let's go over the Central Division and the updated standings. The Dallas Stars still find themselves in first place as they have for much of the season. They have skated in 57 games on the season. They have 30 victories, 72 points overall. That has them 1 point ahead of the Winnipeg Jets and 5 points ahead of the Colorado Avalanche and the Minnesota Wild. The Nashville Predators are then at 60 points, St. Louis at 55 points. They have skated in 2 more games than the Nashville Predators. The Preds and the Colorado Avalanche have skated in in the least amount of games in the Central Division by 2 versus the rest of the field. Arizona and Chicago wrap up 7th and 8th in the Central Division. Now, for the Preds, I mentioned they'll be taking on the San Jose Sharks in San Jose in this next game. Late start for the local Central Division time zone, 9:30. The Sharks have a record of 18, 29, and 11. They have 47 points on the season. They are 7th overall in the Pacific Division. Now, on home ice, their record is particularly bad, 6, 14, and 7. But we just saw an Arizona Coyotes team that had 6 road wins on the season beat the Nashville Predators. So I don't rely too much on the fact that the San Jose Sharks have a very, very poor home record. The Nashville Predators have struggled against these types of things this season. Minus 39 is their goal differential. And now this is the final regular season meeting between the Nashville Predators and the San Jose Sharks. If you go back to the very beginning of the season, it was the Global Series where the Nashville Predators and San Jose Sharks met for the first and second time of the season. It was to open the season, and what a different hockey world it was, and how much optimism Nashville and San Jose still had on opening day of the season. On October the 7th, the Nashville Predators defeated the San Jose Sharks 4-1. It was Cole Sherwood. Yes, Cole Sherwood. A goal, an assist. He had 2 points in the game. Tolvanen and Duchesne Niederreiter also with goals in that game. That's right, Ellie Tolvanen scored the opening game. This season, UC Stars got the victory, going 30 out of 31. They would play one more game as part of the Global Series the next day on October the 8th. It would be the Nashville Predators securing their second victory of the season. It was a 3-2 victory. Nino Niederreiter with 2 goals in this game. So he had 3 goals in the first 2 games against San Jose Sharks. That means he's going to score another goal against the Sharks. Philip Forsberg also chipped in with a goal in that game. Lankinen got the victory, 31 out of 33. So the Nashville Predators started out the season 2-0 with 2 victories over the San Jose Sharks, and everybody was wildly excited until the Predators came home and picked up the rest of the season schedule. The Nashville Predators are dealing with some problems now when it comes to injuries. Philip Forsberg is still listed as day-to-day, but I'm getting concerned that day-to-day is now starting to get close to turning into week-to-week, and there's not a lot of time for this Nashville Predators team left if they're going to overcome a 7-point makeup margins for the second possible wildcard spot. That is a whole lot to overcome, but they're not going to be able to do it without Philip Forsberg, and it's going to be a very unlikely hill to climb even with Philip Forsberg. Now, Ryan Johansson is injured. We do not know. We know he left in the second period. We saw some video on the television broadcast, and we know that Chris Mason on the broadcast was considerably concerned for Ryan Johansson's health, saying it was a potential skate blade to the back of the leg. I do not have any detailed information on that, so I will just leave it at that for now and just hope that Ryan Johansson is okay, because, of course, that is one of the scariest injuries in all of hockey, and we've already seen it this season take out a premier player for several months. Carrier, back to the injury list. Carrier is also still listed as day-to-day, but they anticipate him being on this West Coast road trip, which means he should be able to get back in the lineup. And, of course, Mark Borowiecki is still on injured reserve, and he will remain so probably for the remainder of the season. Now, for the Nashville Predators going into San Jose to face off against the Sharks, before we get to the matchups and the NHL rankings and stats between these two teams, let's talk about the previous 5 games for the San Jose Sharks. Going back to February the 12th, it was a 4-1 victory at the Washington Capitals. On the 14th of February, it was a 3-1 loss versus Pittsburgh. They followed it up on the 16th with a 2-1 loss at Vegas. On the 18th, a 4-2 loss versus Buffalo. So everything for a team that is 7th in the Pacific Division with only 47 points on the season. Everything seems kind of normal with these 3 losses in a row right here. And then you hit the 20th of February, the most recent game for this San Jose Sharks team, which is why I would advise the Nashville Predators not to take them lightly. A 4-0 victory versus the Seattle Kraken. The Seattle Kraken, of course, are competing for first place in the Pacific Division, looking to make their first ever playoff berth. Reimer got the shutout in that game, 26 out of 26. And when I say Reimer, Nashville Predators fans who have been following the Preds for a very long time start to perk up, because James Reimer has had a very good career against this Nashville Predators team. I'll get you his stats in just a moment. He gets the shutout against the Seattle Kraken. That's an impressive victory for the San Jose Sharks on home ice. Now, taking a look at the NHL ranks between these two clubs and this matchup, for the goals for category, 2.98 by San Jose is 22nd best in the NHL, while 2.80 for the Nashville Predators is 26th in the NHL. And the goals against category, 3.02 per game. Nashville Predators, that number has now creeped over 3. That number had remained below 3 almost the entire season. That's 14th in the NHL at 3.02, 3.59 for San Jose. That's a huge number. 26th in the NHL. In the shots for category, San Jose is 24th overall in the league, 29.6 per game on net, while the Predators are generating 30.6 per game. That's 21st overall in the NHL. When it comes to shots against, 27th overall in the NHL for the Nashville Predators, giving up 33.9 shots against, and that means UC Saros has faced an incredible workload this season, almost to the point of being cumbersome. The shots against for the San Jose Sharks, they're giving up 31.2 per game. That's 14th overall in the league. When it comes to special teams, the San Jose Sharks actually do lead in both of the statistical metrics in special teams. Power play, 23rd, 30 conversions on 155 opportunities, or 19.4%. When it comes to the Nashville Predators power play, only a 17% conversion rate on the season. That's 27th overall in the league. 30 conversions on 176 opportunities, so the same number of power play goals for each of these teams, but the San Jose Sharks have had 19 fewer opportunities. On the penalty kill, the Nashville Predators are 15th in the NHL. They've given up 38 power play goals against, kill rate of 79.1%. But listen up, the San Jose Sharks have the second best penalty kill in the entire NHL. They've only given up 27 power play goals against, and they have a kill rate of 84.1%. Highly impressive for a team that is in 7th place in their division with only 47 points and is pacing in the draft lottery sweepstakes more than the NHL playoff sweepstakes. When it comes to individual statistics, every team in the NHL has a boatload of significant players. So let's talk about the offensive threats and the number of players that can put the puck in the net for the San Jose Sharks. There are quite a few of them. Carlson out there on the blue line is having just an incredible season by the numbers. 18 goals, 58 assists, 76 points. He's always been a lethal offensive threat from out there at the blue line, but this season is truly stepping it up a notch for him. And Carlson and Yossi head-to-head is usually a very fun watch. By the way, both of those defensemen happen to be leading their team in scoring. Just because of the fun of the matchup between the two, I'm going to go ahead and kick it over to Yossi. Yossi's got 15 goals and 35 assists for 50 points on the season. Again, Carlson 18 and 58 for 76. So as good a season as Roman Yossi is having right now with 50 points, Carlson is 26 points ahead, and the two of them usually match up and usually compete really hard against each other. We've seen Roman Yossi in the past. He has absolutely posterized Carlson. Back over to the San Jose Sharks side of things. Timo Meier, 31 goals on the season. And again, Timo Meier, another player that usually has pretty good games against the Preds. 21 assists, 52 points overall. Logan Couture, another San Jose Shark that does. And Logan Couture has been doing it against the Preds seemingly forever. 20 goals in the season, 20 assists, 48 points overall. Thomas Hertl, 15 and 32 for 47. Now, James Reimer net 9, 14, and 6, and 8.98 save percentage, 3.20 goals against average. But considering James Reimer's history against the Nashville Predators, throw those numbers out and put the odds in his favor if he does get the start. Now, for the Nashville Predators, I just mentioned Roman Yossi's leading the team in scoring. 35 assists leads the Nashville Predators in that category. 50 points, of course, leads the team overall in scoring. Matt Duchene's 17 goals and 26 assists for 43 points is good for second on the team. Philip Forsberg out injured, but his 19 goals still paces the Nashville Predators. 23 assists for 42 points overall. Mikhail Granlund, 7 and 24 for 31, and Ryan Johansson, 12 goals, 16 assists for 28 points on the season. After tonight's victory, the Nashville Predators starting netminder UC Saros has a record of 21, 16, and 5, a 9.16 save percentage, a 2.84 goals against average. That's got you all set up. The Nashville Predators are a 5th place team. They're heading into San Jose to take on a 7th place team. Every point at this moment in the season is incredibly critical. The Nashville Predators 7 points behind a wild card spot at this moment in time, and a lot of work to make up for. The Nashville Predators in San Jose going for the season sweep against the Sharks. That's got you all set up for that game. Now it's time to go for the Rebirth Sports full game recap and go back and find out what happened between the Nashville Predators and Vancouver Canucks at Bridgestone Arena.
Hockey players are as unique as the game itself, and your uniform should be tailored to fit you. Rebirth Sports is your sports apparel tailor. From shells, bags, warm-ups, hats, hoodies, branding, and more, let Rebirth Sports be your custom hockey tailor.
And don't forget to tell them they do more than just hockey.
Rebirth Sports on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Rebirth Sport, a match made in hockey.
It's time for the Rebirth Sports full game recap, and we go all the way back to February the 21st of the year 2023 when the Nashville Predators were hosting the Vancouver Canucks at Bridgestone Arena, and John Hines deploys his lines in the following way. Granlund, Johansson, and Duchesne are put together for this game. Niederreiter, Novak, and Parson, Trenton, Glass, and Tomasino. Smith, Sissons, and Jeannot make up your forward groupings. McDonough and Yossi, Ekholm, and Luzon, Gravel, and Fabro your defensive pairings, and UC Saros gets the start in net at Bridgestone Arena. We're only 26 seconds into the first period, and UC Saros is coming with a save on Pettersson's first shot on goal of the game. 2:58, that's when Delia comes up with his first save of the game on Trenton. That's when the Preds get their first shot on goal. It would be 4:38, though, of the first period, so the Preds wouldn't wait long. Cole Smith's third goal of the season comes off of the rebound jam. Sissons was also there participating in the jam session. This play was challenged for offsides and upheld by the hair of a skate blade being up over the blue line. But it is upheld. It is a good goal for the Nashville Predators. They lead 1-0 over the Vancouver Canucks on home ice, so the Preds get out to a good start over Vancouver. And Vancouver is also charged with a delay of game penalty for a failed challenge for the offsides challenge. The only note I made here was not a great power play. That's unfortunate because the Vancouver Canucks have the worst rated penalty kill in the entire league. So not a great power play is really a bad power play. 8:49, bad power play. 8:49 of the first period. Fabro's off to the box, 2 minutes for hooking. He's been taking up residency over there in the penalty box an awful lot as of late. Saros comes up with a save on Kuzmenko. Saros then comes up with a save on Quinn Hughes. 12:11 of the first period. Saros comes up with a save on Garland. 14:18, Delia checking back in with a save on Yossi. 14:28, Yossi then off to the box. So 10 seconds after the shot on goal, Yossi is trying to work the front of the net area. He ends up colliding with and falling over the top of Delia. He gets 2 minutes for goaltender interference. Yes, defenseman did push him in just a little bit, but this was a pretty easy call to make. Saros comes up with a save on Beauvillier's jam attempt on the power play, but the Vancouver Canucks are unable to get past Saros. 18:44 of the first period. Delia comes up with a save on Yossi's redirect in the low slot. There's the captain yet again there in the high danger area. 19:33 of the first. Saros comes up with a save on Miller. At the end of the first period, the Preds looked like they were controlling early, but Vancouver, after their power plays, end up piling up some shots on goal. 13-8, they outshoot the Preds in the first period. We go to 2:35 of the second period, and UC Saros is coming up with a save on Studnicka at 5:21. Delia is coming up with a save on Jeannot at the top of the crease. Jeannot could not get the backhander to go. 6:23, Studnicka is off to the box, 2 minutes for tripping. Preds back to the power play, and these were the notes I was making for the first power play unit. Offsides, poor zone entries, short-handed chances against. Change to a fresh unit. Tomasino's got his first goal of the season. Close range finish after Juuso Parssinen set up off of the rush. Rare that you score off the rush on the power play, and Tomasino and Parssinen hooking up right here to give the Preds a 2-0 lead. The first minute 30 of this power play was absolutely dreadful, and then Philip Tomasino goes out there and converts 2-0 in favor of the Preds. 9:56 into the second period. Saros comes with a save on Garland off of the rush. 11:48, Saros another save on Miller. 12:47, Kuzmenko gets by Saros, his 25th of the season. He slipped behind Yossi for the breakaway, then he beats UC Saros as well. Kuzmenko gets Vancouver on the board. 2-1 now in favor of the Nashville Predators. 15:54 of the second period. Saros comes up with a save on Hughes through Ekholm's legs. It was a sharp angle shot and a weird way to shoot it through Ekholm's legs as well, but what a hell of a way to use the defenseman as a screen. UC Saros really had to concentrate and come up with some good focus on this particular play. 17:52, Fabro wanted to get back over to the penalty box, so he takes a holding penalty, and that's when UC Saros goes back to work with a big save on Beauvillier, and then Drees 8th goal of the season. The puck was just sitting on the goal line, and they go to work. Jam. It is reviewed. It is upheld. Yes, the goal did come off of the peg, but the puck was clearly over the goal line before that happened. The Nashville Predators caught a break early in the game, and this one, maybe you think it was a break, but I think this was the right call. I think both of them were the right call. We got a tie game at 2-2. That's the only thing that matters right here. It's deemed a good goal. Nashville Predators would respond, though, before the end of the second period. It would be Nino Niederreiter's 16th goal of the season with 10 seconds remaining in the second period. Tommy Novak played the puck from below the goal line to the top of the crease, and that's where Nino Niederreiter brings the jam. 2 opportunities before putting the puck into the net, giving the Nashville Predators back a 1-goal lead going into the intermission. Preds lead 3-2 after 40 minutes played. Vancouver is out shooting Nashville for the game 23-15. So the Preds only able to generate 7 shots on goal in the second period, but they do maintain a 1-goal lead. We go into the third period on the clean sheet, 148 in. Joshua is off to the box, 2 minutes for hooking, giving the Nashville Predators a power play, and that's where Delia is coming up with a save on Niederreiter at 6:16 of the third period. UC Saros comes up with a save on Bear, 6:23. Saros a save on Kuzmenko, 7:44. Granlund's 7th goal of the season gives the Nashville Predators a 4-2 lead. It was Glass's shot that trickled behind Delia. Granlund then gets behind the netminder and cleans up, putting the loose puck across the goal line and into the net. Preds lead 4-2 in the third period. 13:44 of the third period. Saros comes up with a save on Wolainen. 15:22 of the third. Jeannot is off to the box. 2 minutes for holding another Nashville Predators late game penalty when they have lead. Vancouver pulls Delia to get the 6-on-4. They would generate numerous shots over continuous zone time and keep-ins, and UC Saros would survive the scramble, and he would bend, but he would not break in this particular situation right here. We flip the sheet over, we go to the back, we see 18:36, UC Saros coming with a save on Pettersson, but at 18:54, it is Garland, his 12th goal of the season in the 6-on-5 scenario. It's a tip in at close range, intense pressure by the Vancouver Canucks, and they finally break through on UC Saros under this circumstance. 4-3 now in favor of the Nashville Predators. We go immediately back to the 6-on-5, and that's at 19:45 when we see Kuzmenko scoring his 26th goal of the season, his 2nd of the game, and this was absolutely maybe the most perfect high slot redirect into the top corner that you're ever going to see. UC Saros had 0 chance of stopping this play. With 15 seconds left in the game, the Vancouver Canucks have tied the game at 4 apiece, so Vancouver has scored 2 6-on-5 goals in the last minute and 6 seconds of this game, and we hit to the overtime session. The game tied at 4 apiece. Vancouver outshoots Nashville for regulation 38-24. So that means Vancouver for the third period went from 23 to 38 shots on goal. So 15 shots on goal and just insane amounts of pressure for the Canucks there down the final minutes of the third period. We go to the overtime session. Nashville Predators have secured 1 point. Vancouver has secured a point. We play an additional 5 at 3-on-3 for 1 more point. 1:14 into the overtime session. Saros comes with a save on Miller at 3:49. It's Miller again. This time hits the upper 90 on the left-hand side of the net. At 4:57, Bosser does get called for a penalty, 2 minutes for tripping. Preds did have some opportunities with the netminder pulled, waiting for the penalty to be called, but they were unable to convert. So we hit the end of the overtime session with Vancouver now finishing the overtime session with 39 shots on goal. The Nashville Predators 26 for the game. So the Preds 2 in overtime and Vancouver 1 in overtime. We go to the shootout session, and it is Matt Duchene converting for the Nashville Predators, while UC Saros goes 3 out of 3 in the shootout to bail the Nashville Predators out in this one on home ice. The Preds come away with a 5-4 victory in the shootout. They do pick up that second point, critical point, because Minnesota also won this evening, so the Nashville Predators maintain that margin of being 7 points behind instead of falling potentially 9 points behind tonight. After being up by 2 late in the third period, it was just improbable the Nashville Predators found themselves in overtime after giving up a late goal against Minnesota to lose the game on Sunday afternoon, giving up 2 late goals right here to tie it up. They secure the extra point in the shootout session, but it shouldn't have come to that. The Nashville Predators should have been able to handle the Vancouver Canucks better than that, but they do get the 2 points, and they do get out of Bridgestone Arena now, heading off to San Jose and Arizona. That was the Rebirth Sports full game recap.
Hello, hello, hello. I'm Tracy, owner-operator of Strong Style Fitness. And that's me and my training assistant, Rizzo. And we are here to bring you fitness that meets you where you are by offering circuit classes, bar-inspired classes, Tabata workouts, boot camps, guided stretching, and more, all taught by a certified personal trainer, me. To learn more, go to our website, strongstylefit.com. Subscribe on YouTube at Strong Style Fitness. Follow on social media at Strong Style Fit. But most importantly, let's get you moving. It doesn't matter if it's your first workout or you've been doing it for years. Strong Style Fitness has the workout that meets you on your journey and helps you along the path to a happier, healthier life. I understand where you've been, what you were going through, and where you were going, and I want to take you there. We'll see you on the mat. Mwah.
UC Saros was 36 out of 40 in this game in regulation and overtime, and in the shootout session, he was 3 out of 3, and that shootout performance absolutely bailed out the Nashville Predators. UC Saros was incredibly good in the shootout, as he typically is. He uses his edge work, his focus, his patience, his tracking, all of the skills that make him a Vezina caliber goaltender and a Vezina finalist candidate from previous seasons, and I think he will be again, possibly even this season. So for UC Saros, he did what he needed to do to get his team those 2 points, giving up 2 goals in the 6-on-5 at the end of the game, giving up a breakaway goal against. Not an easy night for the netminder of the Nashville Predators, facing 40 total shots plus the 3 in the shootout. But UC Saros does get the victory. It is his 21st victory of the season, and if he wasn't in there for the Nashville Predators in the third period, they wouldn't even have secured that 1 point to get to the overtime frame. Got to talk about Philip Tomasino, and this is going to be actually enjoyable to talk about. His first goal this season, he went to the hard areas, he was bringing the jam, and he was noticeable all game long. And for Philip Tomasino, I thought that he should have been on this team all season long, but that is not something we're going to sit here and rehash over and over again. He's here now, and he's getting better and better every game out there, and I'm glad to see him getting his confidence because I really like Philip Tomasino as a player. I've gotten to watch him in development camp the last couple of seasons. I've got to watch him in training camp, and of course I got to watch him last year here with the Nashville Predators at the parent club level, and I think Philip Tomasino is a really, really good player that's going to stick for some time. So it's good to see him getting that first goal, and again, going to the hard areas. And this is the theme pretty much all night for the Nashville Predators, because then Cole Smith, Mikhail Granlund, Nino Niederreiter, all of those goals also close range, going to the hard areas, paying the price, and working incredibly hard. So for the Nashville Predators, they come away with 4 goals in this game, and all of them come at very close range and using incredible effort, hard work, and all of these players went to the hard areas and were rewarded for their effort. So Tomasino, Smith, Granlund, Niederreiter, all scoring very, very similar type goals in this game. Good for Mikhail Granlund as well. He has been struggling about as badly as you can this entire season. So all those players, all 4 of them, they all brought the jam, the close range, the effort, and they get results for it. Ayuso Parson, 2 assists in this game. Solid as a rock, man. He goes out there, he holds on to the puck. He's very difficult to move around by defenders. He's big, he's strong, he plays the physical aspects of the game. He goes to the hard areas. He's able to hold on to the puck in traffic. There's so many things to like about Parsons' game. 2 assists in this game, 16-28 in total time on ice, and truly, he's just solid as a rock out there. He is steady, and for the Nashville Predators, ever since he got called up, he has been an incredibly consistent performer. Now, I don't believe he's going to put up any types of numbers to get any type of Rookie of the Year talk, but he is certainly, for the Nashville Predators, been a huge bright spot in what has been mostly a bleak season. So, got a chance to talk about a couple of the young players right here doing a couple of good things. Now, this is something unfortunate. The Ryan Johansson injury. I do not have an update. I wish that I had more. The team did not offer an update by the end of the team's broadcast tonight, but I can tell you that Chris Mason was very concerned during the broadcast as the second period played out, and then once the third period began and Johansson didn't return. And Chris Mason usually plays it pretty close, but he was very concerned. I did not see what they were trying to point out on the broadcast as far as a skate to the back of the leg. I believe them. I'm sure that they have much bigger and better monitors than I do and an ability to look at it frame by frame, but I didn't see the evidence that they were trying to show. But no matter what it is, it's unfortunate. I hate to see any player get injured, and Ryan Johansson has had a pretty tough season, but he's been out there grinding away and doing a lot of things and playing hard, and it would be tough if he suffered a skate laceration type injury to the back of the leg. It's going to be something very difficult, and we are down to the final third of the season. If you hadn't heard that from every single person on the broadcast, that must have been the first thing that was in their notes when they opened up all of their emails coming back home for this game. So the Johansson injury, I wish we had more to tell you about it. So we'll have more. We'll update it more on our social media platforms. Will be, of course, the first place you can find that news as soon as we know more. Now, let's go and talk to Sean C. Smith and get his analysis and his opinions about everything that happened tonight between the Nashville Predators and the Vancouver Canucks. He's from A to Z Sports. You can find his work right there. You can also check him out right here on Renegades of Puck TV, and he makes stops on numerous platforms across the Nashville Predators landscape. So check out Sean C. Smith wherever he can, whenever he can, and watch him right now. On Twitter, find him at SCSNSH. Give him a follow. He is a great dude. Sure do appreciate Sean staying up and filing this report for the Renegades of Puck.
Thanks, Charlie. Hey, Renegades, it's Sean Smith. And, of course, we've got to talk about this win over the Vancouver Canucks. Now, I don't want to get into the whole, did they beat a good team? Did they beat a bad team thing? I feel like I've beaten that dead horse enough here recently. I'll let you come to that conclusion on your own. And, of course, you probably think I'm going to talk about the fact that the Predators had this game won in regulation 4-2 with a little over a minute left in the game, and somehow wound up having to go all the way to a shootout to secure those 2 points. That's not what I'm going to talk about. I want to talk about the bright spots. And the reason I'm talking about the bright spots, no, it's not because I think I've been too negative or I've been too harsh. It's because I think what you saw tonight, the positive you can take away from tonight, is that let's say that the Predators do become sellers and they start selling off some big pieces. You're going to be left with players like the ones you saw shine tonight. And those are the 3 players I want to highlight. And I'm going to dip a little bit into the statistics bag here. Not anything advanced or crazy, just stuff that dumb folk like me can understand. So here's the thing. Let's talk about 3 guys that I think stood out big time tonight, that drove play tonight, and I think gave you hope for what a future without some of the star players on this team might look like. Number 1, let's talk about Juuso Parssinen. Juuso Parssinen had 2 assists tonight. And what I think is impressive about those assists was that even though the goals that they ultimately resulted in were great goals, they didn't happen without Parssinen. And I'll say the first one especially, Tomasino's goal. Tomasino's goal looked great. When you watch the highlight film of that goal, you're going to see Tomasino do a lot of work. But it's Parssinen's just precision pass that gets to him right where it needs to be, no issues handling it, allows Tomasino to just take off down the ice and make things happen. And, of course, I'm looking over here at my numbers. But Parssinen also had a hand in getting that Granlund goal there toward the end of the game, which I think was also a big deal. I think Glass had more to do with it. We'll talk about that in a minute, though. Speaking of Cody Glass, hey, look, Cody Glass, I think, is someone who's been fairly impressive this season. I think he's getting more time on the top lines, and I think that's making a big difference. And I think, moving forward, you can expect to see Cody Glass up in the top 6, and I think that's what you want to see. But here's the thing, and this is what's exciting. Glass makes that Granlund goal happen. I don't know if Granlund hadn't tapped it in, if it would have had enough time to drift over the line, but that was all Glass, getting that puck there, getting it to where it was, and giving Granlund the opportunity to come in and tap it in. I've heard someone say before that assists are just as good as goals, and realistically, think about that play. There's no way that goal happens without Cody Glass. But that's the kind of thing that I have seen out of Glass this season. That's the kind of stuff that I know that Glass is capable of and has been doing all season long. So here's the thing. Let's talk about one more young guy, and that's Tommy Novak. And I'll say this about Novak. Novak's looked really good recently, and I think you're starting to see kind of what happens when you have a guy that maybe has been in the AHL for a while but has a lot of promise and has been brought up, and sometimes those stars just don't align the way you want them to. Novak came up and played for a good stretch of the Predators last season, ended up in the COVID protocol, and then went back to the AHL and never really came back up again. But that's also when you saw Michael McCarron get called back up into the NHL, and that he kind of took over that spot. I think you've seen a lot more out of Novak over the past few games than you've ever really seen out of McCarron. And I hate saying that because McCarron seems like a great guy. Everybody on the team seems to really like what he brings to the team, but you can't argue with the results that Novak's getting. Novak's assist on Niederreiter's goal tonight, again, there's just like the Glass assist with Granlund's goal. There's no way that goal happens without Novak doing what he did to get the puck where it was, giving Niederreiter the opportunity to blast it in. And that's the kind of thing I'm saying, is you're starting to see some of these younger players really distinguish themselves as guys who, if this team has to be sold off, if things start happening, if a retooling, reworking, rebuilding, whatever is to actually come to fruition, and again, I'm not inspired by tonight's game that this should sway things out of the gray area and into the bye situation, or that we're going to make the playoff situation that I think a lot of people are hoping for. These are the guys that I think you're going to enjoy watching play every night. And I think the people who may be on the fence, or maybe saying, I don't want to let these bigger contracts go yet, I think these are the exciting players, these are the guys I want to watch, I think you're going to enjoy watching a lot of these guys too. I think when they get more chances, they get more time with stronger line mates higher up in the roster, higher up in the lineup, first, second line, I think you're going to see some results from these guys. It'll surprise you, and I think it'll keep you coming back for more. You look at a team like the Canucks, not one of the best teams in the NHL, not in a playoff spot. They've sold off some pieces, but they've got some young guys on that team that are really fun to watch. So I think you could look forward to a future like that with the Predators if you're willing to buy into the idea that they need to make some kind of change, some kind of massive change that they haven't really made before. So Renegades, that's what I've got for you. Charlie, I'm going to send it back over to you.
The digital environment can be quite intimidating, time-consuming, and cumbersome, especially with all those other areas that need attention at your business, and that's why Stripe Digital Solutions is here to help. I know, because that's exactly what Stripe Digital Solutions did for me and the Renegades of Puck. From designing my home website and helping me create my merchandise to special event posters, brand building, and social media management. But it's not just that, it's so much more. Stripe Digital Solutions has helped me every step of the way, from startup to full-time operation. Stripe Digital Solutions has been there to assist and advise every single step of the journey. In today's fast-paced world, the path to success is having a strong digital partner, and nobody is better in the trenches than Brandy and Stripe Digital Solutions. Get the solution before it's even a problem with Stripe Digital Solutions. Taking a look inside the box score for the Nashville Predators, going down the goals column. All of the goals in this game scored by forwards, and we talked about why they were all scored by forwards. The close range, hard work, dirty area nature, and the greasiness of these goals. That's how Philip Tomasino, Cole Smith, also Nino Niederreiter, and Mikhail Granlund all paid off tonight in the goals category. Juuso Parssinen with 2 assists in this game led the Nashville Predators in assists and total points with 2. Also Colton Sissons, Tommy Novak, and Glass with assists from the forwards, and from the defensemen, it was Captain Romagnosi and Luzon chipping in with an assist in this game. When it comes to shots on goal, Captain Romagnosi led the team with 6 total shots on goal. Nino Niederreiter had 5 shots on goal. In the block shots category, it was Luzon with 4 block shots in this game. When it comes to the physical category, it was Cole Smith, not only putting up a goal in this game, but also had 5 hits to lead the Nashville Predators. Tanner Jeannot had 4 hits in this game, and some of them were quite thunderous early in the first period. When it comes to your time on ice leader, it was Nino Niederreiter, 19:15 in total time on ice. Matt Duchene second, 19:02 in total time on ice. The only 2 forwards to eclipse 19 minutes in this game. Of course, Ryan Johansson leaves in the second period injured, 11:07 skated. He is the least amount of time skated for any of the forwards on the Nashville Predators roster. When it comes to the defensemen, of course, the Captain Romagnosi led the team in time on ice, 25:31 skated. Mattias Ekholm, though, 24:16, and Ryan McDonough, 24:04. So give them credit. That's putting in some good hard minutes out there. The Captain Romagnosi also at 3:35 in power play time on on ice and 252 of shorthanded time on ice. So that's going to get you through the box score. Oh, UC Soros, 36 out of 40 in the game itself through regulation, overtime, and then 3 out of 3, of course, in the shootout to pick up his 21st victory of the season. That takes care of the box score itself, but there's so much more to look at and think about within the box score than just those numbers and those names I listed off, and that's why we go to the Renegade Analytics desk to take a deeper look into it. He's got the charts you need to see, the numbers you need to know, and he runs the Renegade Analytics desk for the Renegades of Puck. From ontheforecheck.com, you can find him on Twitter at Brian Baston. He is, of course, the one and only Brian Baston.
The Predators got back in the win column tonight against the Vancouver Canucks, a team 10 points behind them in the standings, and if we're honest, a complete dumpster fire of an organization this season. And in what should have been an easy victory against one of the worst goaltending teams in the entire NHL, Nashville lost a 2-goal lead twice in this game, once in the second period, and again, a little more famously, in the final 2 minutes of the third. And while there were some genuinely great performers by the Predators tonight, including Roman Josi and once again Juuso Parssinen, this team hasn't been the same since Filip Forsberg left early in the game against the Flyers on the 11th. And while they did get those wins over Philly, Florida, and Vancouver, the efforts against the Coyotes, Boston, and Vancouver really showed this team really can't compete at an elite level. One player in particular has struggled the most without Filip Forsberg, and he's the topic of tonight's One Big Stat. Matt Duchene does currently sit in the top 25% of the NHL when looking at goals above replacement, a metric from Evolving Wild. But while it may seem easy to say that Duchene wouldn't be able to recreate his career season last year, and that's why he's not performing up to what we would consider his standard, it does look like Duchene is not actually at his best when he's without Filip Forsberg. According to Michael Blake McCurdy of HockeyViz.com, no player on the team takes a bigger hit on both offense and defense than Matt Duchene does without Filip Forsberg. They're one of the best combinations on the team when they're both available and playing together, but without, Duchene's performance declined significantly. But what about the numbers? Let's take a look at the stats and see if those numbers match up with what we're saying. Tonight was maybe one of Matt Duchene's worst performances of the season. No points scored, a dismal 14% expected goal share, that meant that Vancouver was creating 86% of all offense when Duchene was on the ice, and his fourth worst defensive performance of the season as well. But how has Duchene fared in games where Forsberg was out compared to the rest of the year? Goal scoring, funnily enough, actually is not changed. Duchene averages about 0.32 goals per game with or without Forsberg, and Duchene's goal share, the goals for percentage without Forsberg, actually does increase slightly from 45 to 50%. But the rest of the stats, they're not very good. Just to name a few, Duchene drops from an average of 0.8 points per game to 0.65 points per game without Filip Forsberg. His expected goal output per game drops by 35% from 0.3 expected goals to 0.2, and his shot attempt share drops 5% as well. And the expected goal output, well, it's not good. It drops down 14% without Filip Forsberg. Now, mind you, the combination of the two players, Duchene averages about a 50-50 expected goal share, which means he's creating offense and he's allowing about the same amount of offense from the opponents. But he's dropping down to a dismal 36% without Filip Forsberg. And that has been a big reason why this team has been really struggled without Filip Forsberg, because Forsberg provides not much in the way of defense for the most part, but his offensive ability and his playmaking ability is what helps free up his line mates, create a lot of opportunities. And when teams are trying to play defense against a guy like Forsberg, they're willing to take a little more chance, and they can get burned by that. And so both Nashville's defense and offense does improve with Forsberg, even though he's not that strong impact defensive guy. So what have we learned from this? Well, Nashville's in the unenviable situation where they have to try and claw back into the playoff contention with the GM and head coach sitting on what's basically maybe the hottest of seats in the entire NHL. And now, for the foreseeable future at least, they have to do it without Filip Forsberg, whose return is still undetermined. When a star player goes out for an extended period of time, you want your other high money stars to step up. Unfortunately this season, even though it's a small sample size so far, Duchesne is not doing that. And this comes from a guy who likes Matt Duchesne more than most. Even though nearly every single player on the team plays worse without Filip Forsberg than they do with him, Duchesne's not the only one by far. Matt Duchesne is David Poile's guy. He's the guy he wanted for so long. He tried to trade for him on multiple occasions and then finally got him and signed him to a big long-term deal. And if his performance right now doesn't improve, it's going to be a pretty huge indictment of Poile's GMing. If Nashville can't count on those expensive stars to step up when one guy goes out, then maybe the writing is on the wall. And the organization has to admit that this franchise is not built to succeed for the near future and for once take action. Because they may be coming to this realization now, or may not have come to it yet at all, but I think they're going to slowly start to understand the thing that you and I and most of the fans also understand. This team needs to start over, and it's time to start the rebuild. And that's tonight's One Big Stat. Charlie?
I'm Crazy Charlie Saunier, captain of the Renegades of Puck. I'm also tired of the cold, tired of the dark, and tired of being landlocked. I'm also willing to bet that I'm not the only one who could use some sun, fun, and time in paradise with friends. That's exactly why I called our great friend Pete Weber. He told me, call Ships and Trips Travel, and now we're all going to Mexico. That's right, Renegades of Puck, July 15th to the 20th of 2023. Dreams Vallarta Resort in Puerto Vallarta is the destination to hang with Pete Weber in paradise. To join Pete and the Renegades of Puck in Puerto Vallarta, go to www.shipsandtripstravel.com. That's shipsandtripstravel.com, and just click on the ROP on vacation tab. Don't stay landlocked. Join the Renegades of Puck in paradise, July 15th to the 20th, 2023 in Puerto Vallarta. Pete Weber, the Renegades of Puck, and you. It's time to ditch those skates for flip-flops and fun in the sun. And as we start to head out of the bunker for this evening with the Nashville Predators securing a victory in the shootout over the Vancouver Canucks, you have to notice that David Poile, the GM of the Nashville Predators, has already begun moving the goalpost. He had said just a couple of days ago that the Boston, Florida, Minnesota sequence of the schedule was going to be what determined his course of action going forward. Would the team be buyers or sellers? And now, after that three-game sequence in the Nashville Predators going 1-2, and frankly being the beneficiary of some suspect goaltending by the Florida Panthers on a Saturday afternoon, David Poile has now gone on local radio, and he has now said the next important sequence is going to be the game that just wrapped up against Vancouver, and now the next two games against San Jose and Arizona. That three-game sequence is now what is going to determine his course of action moving forward, whether the team will be buying or selling. Also getting people quite irate is the following consensus that he says there is not necessarily a need to sell or to buy, but there is somewhere in the middle, and the concept of the competitive rebuild was brought up again. As you know, in our most recent special commentary, we told you the era of the competitive rebuild is over. If you missed a catfish too far, please go back and check it out on any or all of our different platforms. But for David Poile now, moving the goalposts yet again as we get closer and closer to trade deadline, there is absolutely no doubt, seeing the number of scouts in the building, that the Nashville Predators are being circled by the vultures of the NHL. The New York Rangers reportedly are interested in Tanner Jeannot. Who wouldn't be? He would be an incredible fit for a team looking to make a deep playoff run. But there are plenty of other pieces and prospects of this Nashville Predators team that are easily being looked at by different clubs and GMs. So for David Poile, there's no doubt the phone is already ringing. Moving the goalposts, is that some sort of hardball negotiating tactic? You don't have anyone over a barrel. If the offers are coming in, it's time to start listening and then doing more than that, considering and then making the best possible deals for this team. The Nashville Predators are going to be sellers, struggling to beat the Philadelphia Flyers in Philadelphia and then struggling to beat the Vancouver Canucks on home ice. Now, after losing to Arizona, you will face off against Arizona again and also San Jose. If the Nashville Predators do not find a way to secure the next 4 points against two of the lowest-rated Western Conference teams, then is David Poile going to move the goalposts yet again to trade deadline, where a Jan Hlavich or a Mike Sillinger-esque trade will be made by David Poile so that he can look at the fan base in the post-media scrum after trade deadline passes and say, I did something to improve the team while not sacrificing the future. I believe that's known as Stan Pat Poile. Is Stan Pat Poile getting his suit and shoes ready to head over to Bridgestone Arena for another press conference? You've got to wonder. I sure hope that victory against the Vancouver Canucks didn't encourage too much thought of buying assets moving forward for this Nashville Predators team. Everybody knows what the solution is moving forward. It's just unfortunate that knowing what the solution is, but then knowing who's in charge of the solution and where that could potentially lead your favorite hockey club for the next decade plus. This team is sellers. No matter how far you move the goalpost, if you continue moving it right past trade deadline, all you're going to do is lose another section of your fan base moving forward. It's not time to stand pat, Poile. Nashville Predators secure the victory over the Vancouver Canucks. Now a 2-game road trip coming up before coming back home to close out the month of February against the Pittsburgh Penguins on home ice. And then a huge road trip. So the Nashville Predators going to be doing a lot of work on the road, where they currently have a record of 1 game under 500. For each and every one of the Renegades of Puck, for Sean C. Smith, for Brian Bass, and each and every one of you out there, we sure do appreciate your viewership. We appreciate your time. And most importantly, we appreciate you. Stick tabs, love, and respect. I'm your hosting captain, Crazy Charlie Saunier.